Hello, junkies. If you are watching this after the fact, of course, go to 00:00, and we are going to dive right into the story. Tonight's story is a little bit creepy, I won't lie. And, well, most of the stories in this mixtape business are all going to be creepy. Still calling up my script right now. Booking band gigs for my cousin Minister Muriel's band as we speak. It's very convoluted, confusing, comprehensive, Congolese, Congoline, all that good stuff. All right, let me get my chat back up here. All right, who have we got in the house? See somebody, hey, Cobalt, first one in. What up, G? Let's see, Deep Cut 74, Micro, oh, that's not what I need. I know what you need, woman. I know what you need. Here's the script right here. Recluse Mage, hello. Don Shipley, how you doing? Good to see you. How you doing? How you doing, Don? It's very nice to see you again. All right, here we go. Got to get this script. Sadly, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Robert Otto, co-author of, co-creator of Slay, is actually in San Diego, but he's not here tonight. So I don't even know if he'll be on. I think he's flying. He won't even land till 8 o'clock. So he's not technically in San Diego yet. Don't call me a liar, son. I'm doing the best I can over here with a little information out. Steve, the Iceberg, Ricky Berg, how you doing? Michael Moore, Las Vegas in his house. What's up, Rich? No, how you guys doing? Great to see everybody. Cobalt says he's looking for this episode. You guys, this song has always spooked me the F out. I know it's supposed to be, it's like, hey, this is always so great. If I could just have a fella, it'd be so wonderful. No, this is some messed up stuff. This song is messed up. Well, it will be messed up forever in your head after you hear this story, which I'm going to not lie to you is only part one. So you're going to have to wait for the rest of it. It's just the way shit goes. We go to main real quick, checking my camera angles and whatnot. Oop. Ah, it's almost like special effect and shit. That's great. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, Otto's definitely a slacker. Let's see. Yeah, no, Rob, that is a bummer. All right, we got people coming on in. It's still kind of waiting to see. Who do we got on Twitch? Who's in Twitch today? Recluse Mage is on Twitch. Very nice. John Bivens. Cheers, buddy. Dawn had to leave her church to make it home in time for this stream, which is fantastic. Fantastic. All right. People are still trickling on in. Remember, of course, hey, Nick, there you go. How are you? We stream on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube, and also on LinkedIn. Although I'm not sure we've ever had anybody actually watch on LinkedIn. We also stream on my Telegram group, and most of the people on Telegram are Europeans in other parts of the world, so it's very early in the morning for them. So they, we don't get a lot of people on that one right there. But let's go through the basics, ladies and germs. Let's do our stuff. Tonight's live read is mixtape track number 2, Mr. Sandman, part 1. On tonight's Deep Cuts, we're going to be sharing stories about why we are thankful for the Galactic Football League. That should be very fun. If you're on, Keith Pippen's in the house. Keith has got a sick-ass tattoo, you guys. I did a video about it. I put it in TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and kind of all over the place. It's just awesome. So welcome, Keith. YouTubers, make sure you click like, hit that bell, and make sure you are subscribed. We got to go through some of the basics right here. Okay, back to main for just a second. If you got ideas, things you want us to talk about in Deep Cuts, thoughts, considerations, questions, you can email those to info@emptyset. You, of course, should be signed up for our SMS text message group thing. Yes, the thing. Sign up for the thing. You can text SIG text to 855-955-5095. And if you haven't signed up before, you're going to get a 10% coupon you can use on you can use anything in the store that we ship. Remember, we don't control stuff that goes from Amazon, only the stuff that we ship. And of course, you should be signed up at scottsclear.com/newsletter. Looks like a little bit a lag on my side. So, hey, Tin Man's in the house. So let me know if, do the best you can. Let me know if it starts to screw up the audio. The video looks like it is halting a bit, but Michael A. Mean says, are we drinking like it's the night before Thanksgiving? I believe we are, because it is the night before Thanksgiving, and I am drinking. And there's some drinking. Oh, hey, if you're listening, A Real Girl herself, if you're listening right now, hey, Tony, can you make me an old fashioned, darling? Because there are old fashions in this story. I got behind this week, and A did not get to read any of the story. So she will be hearing it live as you guys hear it. Dawn says it's been a very hard week for her to question why she works so hard to stay on this earth when I cause so many problems. Dawn, you're in a place amongst friends right now, and you should relax. You should enjoy this story, enjoy the junkies in the chat room. And, this is a good place to go, because what I do, my mission in life, is to give you guys momentary escapes, to lift you away from your own troubles, take you away to a place where you can watch some other people have some really, really worse troubles. Let's be honest. The people with my stories, they got some troubles, bro. They got some troubles. So Dawn, for the next hour or two, hang out with us, relax, be nice to yourself, give yourself a break, and just hang out. Hang out. Everything's going to be good. YouTube's got the other names on again. So I think that's Michael Moore says, internet has been screwy since that big hack. I'm unfamiliar with any big hacks. So yeah, Michael Means says, attaboy, old fashions it is. Everybody, if you want to participate in this story, do 3D, which stands for three-dimensional drinking. I'll work on that. We need an acronym for DDD that involves drinking. And no, you cannot do a Bingles acronym for DDD, because we're pretty sure we know how that shit would go. So, but old fashions are the drink of the night. I should have let everybody know that, but I did not. So let's see. Getting into it, let's go to Maine. Big Nasty's in the house. What's up, Big Nasty? All right, here we go. Let me get everything up here. We got 23 seconds to pull this off and look like an actual super pro. What's up, pros? What's up, pros? Here we go. Back over here. Great. Nice crowd coming in. Let's get to the story, ladies and germs. Here we go. Okay, I'm framed up. I'm framed up good. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go to logic. Start the recording. Make sure we are doing good there. We are. Hide that. Perfect time for a cough and a throat tickle to pop up. Absolutely perfect timing. And I'm missing one thing, which is, let's get the mixtape up. Spike, how you doing? Showtime, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into it. We started this mixtape in 1976 with the release of Hotel California by the Eagles. Baby boomers were then in their teens and 20s. Rocky was #1 at the box office. The United States celebrated its bicentennial. Apple Computers was founded. Jimmy Carter was the president. For track 2, we jump back in time, almost a quarter century earlier, to 1954, the heyday of the silent generation. Dwight Eisenhower ran the show in the USA, a different culture and a different level of technology. It was the atomic age. Radiation-soaked creature features like them and Gojira terrified moviegoers. The USS Nautilus, the world's first nuclear-powered submarine, was commissioned. I Love Lucy dominated the airwaves, and she did so in black and white. McCarthyism was peaking. The Soviet Union was the great boogeyman, a constant threat to decorate America with mushroom cloud blossoms. The Red Scare was looming. Oh, sorry. Sec. Thought I got rid of that. Boop. Boop. There it is. Back to it. The Soviet Union was the great boogeyman, a constant threat to decorate America with mushroom cloud blossoms. The Red Scare was looming, an ominous presence that dominated popular culture and dictated not only foreign policy, but black budget research as well. The place is Frederick, Maryland, home of Fort Detrick, the center of the U.S. Army's medical defense and biological weapons research. And the song is Mr. Sandman by the Chordettes. From the very first bum 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 bum, this song disturbed me by painting a vision of hidden dread, of soulless eyes and impossible expectations, of false smiles and real consequences. And now, listener, I share that. Sorry, guys. And now, listener, I share my dread with you. Here is Mr. Sandman, Part 1. Bodies jostled all around him. Everyone was talking, even shouting, as they leaned a bit closer to the television set above the bar, where Rocky Marciano duked it out with Ezzard Charles. The packed crowd worked to Felix's advantage. Even if there was someone in here who knew him, which there wasn't, he knew, because he'd done a walkthrough when he'd first arrived, they would be staring at that little screen. This was as close to being invisible in public as it got. And it made the woman next to him have to lean closer to talk. "What did you tell your wife?" She'd moved in to say that, then leaned away, almost bobbing and weaving like the black and white prize fighters that held everyone else's rapt attention. Helen stared at her glass. Helen stared at her glass, as if she found the whiskey highball, or perhaps her brick red lipstick imprint on it, more interesting than Felix or the fight. She was nervous. So was he, a little, but the fact that she was here meant she wanted this. And she was the kind of woman who could keep a secret. "I told her I have a meeting in D.C., Felix said. "She knows better than to ask for details. I wouldn't be able to tell her anyway. Don't worry, she's used to it." Of course she was. Over the last 2 years, Sandra had spent more than a few nights alone in the house. Sometimes there actually was a meeting or a conference. Most times, though, Felix was doing what he had to do, what he had every right to do, doing exactly what he was doing now. A man has needs, after all. Good. Helen took a slow sip of her drink. "I certainly won't say a word to anyone." Felix tapped the edge of his glass, knowing this dance, this talking, was part of the process. Worth it if he could get Helen into bed. He had wanted her since he started this job. That was when she wore business clothes or her mortician's smock. She was a sturdy woman, wide in the hips, broad through the shoulders, with solid legs and forearms you didn't often see on a woman. Oops, sorry. I'm going to redo that on the fly. She was sturdy, wide in the hips, broad through the shoulders, with solid legs and forearms you didn't often see on a woman. Felix had never seen her all dolled up before. The dark green sheath dress hugged her ample curves, the hem sliding up above the knee of her crossed legs. Seamed stockings. A half hat pinned to her chestnut hair. Pearls around her neck and at her ears, black pumps that made her a touch taller than him, and gray gloves neatly tucked into her handbag. Cat eye eyeliner. Eyeshadow that complemented the color of her dress. This was as close to a sure thing as it got. Women didn't dress up like that to meet a married man unless they wanted him to take her to bed. I wonder if she even knows what you're working on, Mr. Sandman. I find it quite fascinating. He leaned in quick, so quick she seemed startled, her motionless eyes widening slightly. "Tonight, just call me Felix," he whispered. "No last names, please." She blinked. She nodded. Felix turned his drink atop the bar, watching the wobbling old-fashioned catch the dim light. No, his wife didn't know what he was working on. Helen did. To some extent, anyway. She wasn't read in on the whole scope. And besides, she was a mortician, not a scientist. And a woman, at that. She probably grasped the gist of it, though, at least enough for her not to make a big deal out of handling all those dead bodies. The government's checks probably helped with that. Felix didn't know how much she was getting paid. Not as much as him, obviously, but the look of her outfit told him she wasn't hurting for money. He hoped they didn't have to do too much talking before he got her out of here and back to his hotel room. Helen bobbed in. "I do feel a little bad about it, you know?" And bobbed back. She had to push against a fat man who tried to slide into the open area to better see the fight. Most women would have given up the space, but not Helen. She was strong. Her shoulders shoved the man out of the way. He glared at her for a moment before the television again caught and held his attention. She felt bad about meeting a married man, but not bad enough to leave. Excellent. Felix leaned closer, hunching over his drink, letting his shoulder brush against hers. "Don't feel bad," Felix said. "My wife and I, we have an understanding." He had the understanding. Sandra had no idea. What she didn't know wouldn't hurt her. A man's got to do what a man's got to do and all. Felix had met Helen 2 years ago. She ran the funeral home. She processed the bodies when they came in, made sure they were prepared and ready for him. That saved time. Saving time was a laughable phrase, of course. It was all ridiculous theater. Theater that paid well. It hit him suddenly that he hadn't asked at all about her personal life. He didn't need some incident with a jealous boyfriend to turn into a dust-up. Felix wasn't likely to lose his job if his bosses found out he and Helen were having, or about to have, an affair, but no need to rock the boat and find out. "How about you, Helen? You seeing anyone? There's not some burly Marine overseas somewhere with your picture in his locker?" Felix forced a laugh, trying to make it sound like a light-hearted joke. But that sounded fake even to him. Helen didn't seem to notice. "No," she took a sip. "I haven't had much luck in the relationship department." She glanced at him, fixed those dead eyes of hers on him. "All the good ones are taken." He hoped she didn't think he would leave Sandra for her. They hadn't even slept together yet. Felix wasn't leaving Sandra for any woman. He really wasn't surprised that Helen didn't have anyone. She wasn't ugly, but she wasn't exactly a pinup model. Gaps in her teeth. Her lips were thin. And she was weird. That dead-eyed stare of hers. She owned a funeral home and had bodies, indigents and homeless mostly, brought in at all hours. So maybe she had to be weird. And she was in her late 30s, maybe 40. There was usually a reason a woman of that age didn't have a husband. Whatever that reason was, Felix didn't care. He needed sex. She needed sex, or she wouldn't have come. They could have fun together. And she wouldn't talk about it, because if she did, she might lose her contract with the Armed Forces Special Weapons Project. Not to mention the consequences of breaching her classified security oath. In Helen's case, kissing and telling could lead to federal charges. So, sure, Helen was no Rita Hayworth, but she would keep her mouth shut. If she was good in bed, that was all Felix needed. It must be hard for you, Helen said. What must be hard? Not being able to share your day with your wife. In truth, it wasn't hard at all. Sandra hadn't even finished high school. She was good at keeping the house, and she took great care of their two boys, but the science involved would be nothing but gibberish to her. Reanimating the dead wasn't a project the U.S. wanted anyone to know about. The Soviets were working on it. They would have no more luck than Felix had had, or would have, because bringing the dead back to life was impossible. Not that he would say that to his bosses. If he did, they'd get someone else to do the work, and he would have to find a real job. He had made some interesting discoveries, though. He had dramatically slowed decomposition. He had kept severed limbs alive for a little while. He'd made dead muscles move, dead arms flex, dead hands squeeze. He had even attached one man's dead hand to another man's dead wrist and made the muscles in both arm and hand function somewhat. While that was a breakthrough, it wasn't what the project needed. Felix kept telling his bosses he could get there someday, and they kept believing him. Helen leaned in. Not just their shoulders touched now, but their arms as well. So, no one knows you're here? She sipped her drink. You're sure we're in the clear? This tete-a-tete was risky for her, too. There was no rule against their meeting, but if they were discovered, someone higher up the chain of command might think operational security was compromised. They might find a new civilian contractor. That wouldn't be good for Helen's business. At this point, Felix wasn't sure she had any other business. We're in the clear, doll. He let his hand drop below the bar and placed it on her knee. Let's get out of here. We both know where this is going. My hotel room is nearby. Room 7. Same room he had used the last 2 times. The number was lucky in more ways than one. Helen's cold, vacant eyes took his measure. Not your hotel, she said. My place. Felix leaned away from her, or tried to, but a man and a woman had pressed in on his right, both shouting at the TV. The funeral home? Why? Because I live there, Helen said. It's my house as well as my business. Remember? Of course it was. Felix knew that. It had been a family business. She had run the place with her husband, who died long before Felix met her. Harvey something. Felix hadn't bothered to ask if Berlinger was Helen's married name. Felix hadn't bothered to ask if Berlinger was Helen's married name or her maiden name. She reached down, put her hand atop his. Because that's where I've seen you, being so smart, so brilliant. And I want you there for our first time. No one will know, Felix. It's been so long for me. We can use a hotel next time. Next time. She was already looking forward to future dalliances, and he hadn't even fucked her yet. Wonderful. And why not go to her place? He was there once a week, sometimes more. He didn't always go alone, but sometimes he did. He envisioned bending Helen over a desk, or even a cadaver table. Fast and furious, then back to work. This was going to work out well. I'll get us a cab, Felix said. Helen drained her glass, then slid off her stool. The man on her left took up the space she vacated like human osmosis. She smoothed her skirt down to its proper length, then picked up her handbag. She whispered in Felix's ear. We shouldn't be seen leaving together. Her lips brushed his skin, sending tingles up his spine. I'll go on ahead and slip into something more comfortable. You wait here 20 minutes, then come see me. Use the rear entrance. She didn't wait for his response. Helen Berlinger worked her way through the crowd, turning to slide between people staring and shouting at the television. No one paid her any attention. 20 minutes? No problem. Felix rapped his knuckles on the bar. When the bartender looked his way, he pointed to his drink. One more. Felix would get at Helen soon enough. The cab pulled away, headlights fuzzy in the softly falling snow. Felix stood on the sidewalk, shivering against the chill. Berlinger Funeral Home. No light on the sign. Old two-story stone building, notched into an otherwise normal working-class neighborhood. He saw it now in a way he just hadn't before. It was a house. He wondered how many generations had lived in it, their lives playing out on the second floor, while the lives of others were memorialized on the first, and the next in line were embalmed in the basement. The funeral home's cornerstone told part of that story, maybe. 1858. In 3 years, the place would hit the century mark. The upstairs windows were dark. A lamp lit up the curtains covering the ground floor windows. Was that the main parlor room? Felix couldn't remember. He'd only been through the front door once, when he had first come to this place. The porch light flicked on, then off, then on, then off. She saw him standing there. Felix looked up one side of the street, then the other. No one was out. It was almost midnight and freezing outside. Not that anyone around here knew him. Rubbing his hands together for warmth, he followed the sidewalk leading between the funeral home and its neighboring house. The back lot. That was where Helen brought the bodies after she picked them up from the county morgue, and where unmarked vans collected them for transport to Felix's on-base lab. The whole arrangement seemed stupid to him, but there were far more concerns about Soviet spies on the base than there were about Soviet spies monitoring a civilian funeral home. The light above the angled cellar door flicked on, then off. She didn't even want him to use the house's back door. A little weird, and a lot morbid, maybe, but also kind of exciting, like he was a covert agent. This was going to be fun. Felix opened the door and walked down concrete steps. New steps, installed when engineers rebuilt the basement. She stood halfway down the hall under an overhead light. Wow. What she lacked in her face and figure, she made up for with effort. A black bullet brassiere tight across her chest. A bit too tight, as if she'd bought one as if she'd bought it one size too small. Black lace shorts tight on her upper thighs, stretched out some at her belly, some plumpness hanging over the top, but just barely. Garters sliding out beneath them, attached to sheer black nylons. Long black evening gloves. She looked like a woman who thought she resembled Betty Page, but was 10 years older and 20 pounds heavier. Her figure wasn't the thing, though. It was that she had worn that outfit at all, and the way she wore it. Such confidence, such sensuality. Sandra had neither, and she wouldn't even consider wearing such clothes. Helen had one hand on her hip, the other held out an old-fashioned. "You look incredible," Felix said. Helen smiled, stretching her now fire engine red lipstick wide. As before, though, it was a strange smile, one that made her mouth seem like it was operated by a puppet. Felix didn't care. "Come get your drink," she said. He did so. She smelled fantastic. He downed the entire drink, smiled, and wiggled the glass at her. "Got another one for me?" She nodded. "I have plenty. Let's go to the office." She turned and walked down the hall, heels clicking. The hum in his chest buzzed higher. He followed her, walking quickly. They passed the prep room. 3 stainless steel tables, no waiting. That was where Helen did the embalming when Felix and his staff were done with the corpse. One body on the center table. Excuse me. One body on the center table. A man, probably, under a sheet. From the angle of the drape, Felix could see the body had no feet. He didn't recall any upcoming scheduled tests on feet. Maybe the man had died in an accident or something. Nothing spooky about it, though. Not for Felix. When your job was to work with dead bodies every week, exposing them to radiation, hooking them up to electrical sources, dousing them in various chemicals, a dead person was about as frightening as a hamburger. The office was where he worked when he came here. A secret room complete with a secret door. His intellect and position turned her on, so she wanted to play there? Wonderful. It would be cold, it always was, but Felix had a feeling he would warm up in a hurry. The office door was nothing remarkable. Same thing you'd find at any facility like this, probably. Wide enough for a rolling cart, although there were a few waist-high blackened scuff marks on the frame. He followed her in. The office was just that, a small office. A desk with a typewriter on it, a chair, filing cabinets. A drink cart, at which Helen started mixing a second old-fashioned. "Make one for yourself, doll," Felix said. "Let's get nice and loose." He shivered from the cold, and how was she not shivering? She barely had any clothes on. Next time, they could take this upstairs. She lived here, so she had to have a warm bed. "Go on in," she said, glasses clinking with ice. Felix pulled open a file cabinet drawer, reached inside, and hit a button attached to the underside of the cabinet's top. He heard the buzz of an electromagnet and the click of bolts sliding free. A push sent the filing cabinets and the wall behind them swinging inward. The spy stuff had thrilled him at first, but no longer. After the first 3 or 4 months, this secret door had become just a door. Inside was the larger prep room. 3 more steel tables, one hidden by a hanging divider curtain drawn from wall to wall. A 16-bay refrigerated morgue cabinet with 16 doors. The Geiger counter, the microscope, chemical storage, a black lab counter, a high-voltage power supply unit, and the other equipment Felix had asked for and received, courtesy of Uncle Sam's paranoia-driven largesse. He had more and better equipment on the base, but he did a good bit of work here. The fresher the body, the better the chance. At least, that's what he had told his bosses. "Take your drink." He turned to see Helen holding 2 glasses, ice cubes floating in amber. She held the glass out to him. Felix took it, or he tried to. He missed his first grab. "Well," he said, smiling, trying to play it off, "that first one's hitting me pretty hard." He had also had 2 at the bar. Helen said nothing. Felix concentrated and took his glass. His head swam. This woman made strong drinks. "Bottoms up," Helen said, and she drained her glass. She went fuzzy for a moment, then came back into focus. "Bottoms up," Felix said. He took one big sip, then sloshed his drink as his balance deserted him. He stumbled into an autopsy table. It made a hell of a racket, but he didn't feel any pain. Something was wrong. Even with the 2 drinks he'd had back at the bar, he could hold his liquor. "I don't feel so good." He set his drink on the autopsy table. "What was in those drinks?" Helen picked up his glass. "Chloral hydrate," she said. Felix stood there, on the edge of collapsing, trying to comprehend what she had just said. Chloral hydrate? A sedative? The room started to spin. Helen slipped in and out of focus. So cold down here. Why? Felix's tongue felt dry. Why? "Because all the good ones are taken, Mr. Sandman," Helen said. "So I've put together one of my own, and you're going to make him live." The floor seemed to shift beneath him. He stumbled backward, arms flailing. His hand caught the hanging curtain, held him upright, but he stumbled more, pulling the curtain along with him, opening it and exposing the last table. And the man atop it. The man. The men. Dark stitches ringed his neck, his waist, his shoulders, his ankles. The parts, they didn't match. All pale with death, but visibly different skin tones. She had made a man from pieces of dead bodies. "All the good ones are taken." Helen's voice sounded different, like it was coming from a tunnel. "I don't have anyone to call my own, Mr. Sandman. You're going to help me. You're going to bring Frank to life." Felix's knees wobbled. He found himself sitting on the floor, looking up at the table. One dead arm hanging over the edge. No hand, just a stump at the wrist, severed neat and clean. Circles of bone set amidst grayish flesh. "Helen, you're crazy." She set down her glass and stepped to the lab counter. She picked up things Felix hadn't noticed. A leather collar and a coil of cable. "That's what Harvey told me," Helen said. "He wasn't good to me, Mr. Sandman. He wasn't one of the good ones. You are, but you're married. I can't be with you. That's why you'll bring Frank to life, Mr. Sandman, because you are a genius." Felix sagged to his side. The concrete floor was so cold against his cheek. She thought he could really do it. His vision blurred. Nothing clear now, nothing sharp. "I'm sorry I lied to you," he heard Helen say. "If I had told you what I wanted, you wouldn't have come. I can't have sex with you, Mr. Sandman. That wouldn't be fair to your wife, now would it?" He needed to run, but he couldn't even stand. He felt something cold and soft on his neck, wrapping around it. He heard bits of metal softly tinkling. The thing around his neck tightened. "If you want to see your wife again, Mr. Sandman, you'll bring my Frank to life. We will get started as soon as you wake up." Felix heard some of her words, but maybe not all. And then sleep swallowed him up. To be continued. Next off face. All right, bitches. What did you think of part 1 of Mr. Sandman? I meant to be, the goal was to have complete finished stories to read you guys in a half hour to 45 minutes, sometimes an hour, but it doesn't always work. Doesn't always work. Oh, Bleak Mill Stonehouse. Got to get blocked. Gotcha. Take that, motherfucker. Take that, spammer. Right in your cornhole. That was a little rough. A little violent. Okay, there we go. Let's go to chat now. And let me see. Chat it up. Let me know what you guys thought at the beginning of this story. And I noise, Big Nasty says, I don't think that next week's, it's not going to be another 45-minute story. It's going to be a little bit shorter. But it's dark, y'all. It's super, super dark. All right, I'm going to get the next thing up. A's got to go get her computer. Excuse me. Yeah, old school FTO, exactly, Cobalt. Now, part of the goal of this series is, to get me away from the constant research and the continuity checking and all that other stuff. Because that all takes up a huge amount of time that is part of storytelling, but cuts into the actual storytelling part, going back and make sure, okay, what kind of gun does Link have? What kind of strap on his Bingles have? Like these, of course, the very important things that go on. And we're going to start, eventually, I think the series will probably start getting into some, supernatural horror. And we've got some straight up dark fantasy coming to this, like old school swords and sorcery shit coming into this too. Michael Emin says, I'm a fan of short form for you. It's such a playground. It is a playground. This one, actually, the research kind of caught me out a little bit because the military organization they mentioned, that's actually real. That was a real thing. And Fort Detrick, Maryland was the biowarfare headquarters of the United States. So anybody who actually understands or knows military history would like, oh, this shit fits. It fits hand in glove. I mean, it's perfect. This is where they would have done it. And this was also a time in United States history where they just threw money at shit because everyone was in absolute panic about what the Soviets were doing. So the Soviets were trying to bring things back to life, which they did with dogs and other animals. They didn't bring them back to life. They were consistently experimenting, trying to figure out how to bring dead soldiers back to life. This is a real fucking thing. And when America found out about it, they went and spent money on it, trying to figure, well, we got to get there first. Everything was a moonshot. Everything was a moonshot after World War II. And so it fits really, really good. Don Shipley says, a bit of a different take on Frankenstein. That is probably more prominent in my brain because I just watched the new one the other day. Well, Dawn, her, the Bring Me a Dream man she wants to come to life, his name is Frank. And for a very fucking good reason. Tony says, didn't want to stop, but were perfectly timed for suspense. And you guys, I tangentially saw a couple comments in the chat room. Yeah, Felix is a fucking piece of shit. Felix is
Helen's not so great herself.
Well, that's true, baby. It's true. Felix is, let's see. I'm going to mute you till you get set up, Peanut, and then just holler, okay? Because you're a little clacking and whatnot. No, you're fine. You're fine. It's, if you guys, this is obviously heavily Mad Men influenced as well, because Mad Men was, that show that gave, Mad Men, you're good. Mad Men gave a lot of us real insight into the day-to-day lives of that culture. Like it was a modern take on what it was like to live back then. And in Mad Men, scooch a little bit. In Mad Men, those cats and lads were tomcatting and tomkitting around all over the place. So, yes. Hey, cheers, baby.
Yeah, cheers.
Thanks. Cheers to all you. So I really have, I have only finished story today. Usually I'm supposed to finish it like Friday and then get over to A, but a bunch of stuff's going. Anyways, I'm really enjoying this story. I really like how I didn't really know if I meant it to be, kind of like ooh, woo, woo, supernatural sci-fi, but it wound up being like, this fits. It fits. It feels, I think it feels very real.
I do too. I also, it's strange for me because I am the child of a mortician. So, living.
Can you believe I didn't even think about that one time in the story?
I could tell.
That's crazy.
Why? It was sort of weird because I kept thinking like, he heard me tell 1,000 strange stories of things that happened.
Oh. Sorry, shit, babe. Your mic wasn't on. Go ahead.
Sorry about that.
Go back again. Tell that again.
So,
child of a mortician.
If you guys don't know, I am the daughter of a mortician. And so there's a lot of stories that are just go-to known stories from my childhood and stuff like that. My mom and dad met. One example is my mom and dad met because my dad was becoming a mortician and my mom was trying to figure out if that's what she wanted to do. She ended up becoming an ER nurse. So, but there were times where, you'd if you needed to put the baby down for 25 minutes, you put her in a casket, that kind of thing. So it was strange that nothing in my experience showed up for you.
Yeah.
Or it showed up in the story.
I really hope nothing in this story matches things in your experience.
Also, Helen is a piece of trash.
These are
not good people.
These are not good people. I think you've summed it up. These are not good people whatsoever. Well, I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. Edward Rocco in the house. You have that on, is that right?
I do.
You don't need to turn it off. I just need to, before we get rolling, I need to find something to put it on so it's not vibrating the table directly. Yeah, that'd be great. Good idea. Fabulous. Mm-hmm. Problem solved.
Problem solved.
That's the kind of engineering that let us beat the Soviets, you guys. That's the engineering right there. Okay.
Before you begin, Sean says, good thing your parents met. Can't be a lot of dating prospects in the office for a mortician. Yeah, that's true. My dad did not have a lot of dating after he and my mom split.
We just saw dating prospects in a mortician's in a funeral home. I don't know what you're talking about, Sean.
Oh my
we just literally saw in the
gracious,
story.
How dare.
Yep. All right, let's get into it. You ready, baby?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to get this called up here.
So we have, I think you guys know from last week, we have a friend coming over later tonight. Rob Otto is on his way into town. So we are definitely going to give the GFL its due, but we are probably not staying on a whole lot late tonight.
Not a whole lot late tonight. Okay, let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Are you ready, Pumpkin?
Mm-hmm.
I think I already asked you if you're ready. Let me get a quick sound check here. Check.
Check.
Okay, keep that
Checkity,
keep
check,
that
check.
liquid coming. You're a little clicky, but you'll be fine. You also want to hammer on this tea if you want. Oops, I did a slurp. Sorry. I'm not
I did
supposed to do
that
slurps.
last week because you asked me to, and I almost died.
Died with what? Oh, you took that.
Yeah. I don't drink very many hot things, so
Yes.
it was a lot.
Okay, here we go. We didn't do advertising this time. That's my fault. Pre-start chat. Oh, real quick before we start, I'll pause this. I'm going to record. Before we start on the GFL stuff, let's go through housekeeping. Sunday, November 23rd, mixtape track number 1, Hotel California, went live in your feed. If you watch live, you go back and listen to it when it's all edited up. Probably will sound pretty snazzy. Tuesday, November 24th, Deep Cuts 74, Why We're Thankful for the NFL, went live in the feed. And we're going to try and get the Deep Cuts for the limited amount of time we're still doing them. We're going to try and get those back to go on Fridays. So that way we'll have a Friday episode, Sunday episode drop, and a Wednesday live feed, kind of spread things out across the week. In tonight's Deep Cuts, we're talking about why we're thankful for the GFL. Sunday, November 30th, tonight's episode, mixtape track number 2, Sandman Part 1, goes live in the feed. Saturday, December 6th is I didn't do it. I didn't do the graphic for the Junkie Meetup. Saturday, December 6th, the Junkie Meetup. Well, I probably should have some in there. At least you can see the URL. Hold on. If you go to bit.ly/junkiesparty, you will be able to see that link. You guys should go. Steve has a good time having everybody else have a good time. And then I'm not sure we're going to have an episode a week from tonight. We will let you know. We've got a bunch of friends in town and it is Thanksgiving and we are going to be watching a lot of football and having a blast. So we will let you know. And of course, if you have any questions for us or things you want to see on Deep Cuts, email that to info@emptyset.com. You ready, Pumpkin?
Not yet. I got to put my hair up because it's hot in this office.
Hold on, let me help you a little bit. That should help a little bit. Do you want me to turn on the AC for you?
No, this is all right though.
Okay. I was pretty chilly in here for me, so I didn't think about it. Let's get into
menopause.
it. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, time for deep cuts, everybody. There's no story-related content in here. You should hang out, though. Oh, shit. We got to restart.
Okay.
Fuck it up. We will be right back. Remember, just park your fine fannies where they are now. We're going to shut off this feed. It's going to start back up in probably like a minute or something like that. And if you don't see any notifications, all you got to do is just refresh the page you're on right now. Give us a minute. We'll be right back. And we're going to talk about why we're all thankful for the GFL.
See you soon, guys.